Welcome to Sarah
and Lindsay's
Cell Cooking Kitchen. Today we'll be making pumpkin bread.
We will be using flour, sugar, baking soda, ground cinnamon, ground nutmeg, raisins,
baking powder, salt, eggs, pumpkin, walnuts, and oil.
The first tool we will need to make our pumpkin bread is a bread pan. The bread pan represents the cell wall, which controls what goes in and out of a cell, like the pan controls what goes in and out of it.
We will be starting our bread with the main ingredient. The main ingredient is similar to the nucleus of a cell. The nucleus is a membrane-bound organelle that contains a cell's DNA. The ingredient acting as the nucleus is the pumpkin. This acts as the nucleus because the pumpkin contains the main flavor and true base of where the flavoring came from, like the DNA does in the nucleus.
The next ingredient is the flour.
Next, we'll be adding the eggs.
The eggs will act as the ribosomes in a cell. Ribosomes are the protein in a cell, just as the eggs are the protein in our bread. Next up are the rest of the ingredients.
Ground nutmeg,
2 cups of sugar,
1.5 teaspoons of baking soda,
1.5 teaspoons of ground cinnamon,
1/2 teaspoon of baking powder,
and 1/2 teaspoon of salt,
2/3 of a cup of oil,
and 1/2 a cup of walnuts.
Now it's time to blend it up. Today, we're going to be using an egg beater for this. This is similar to the lysosomes in a cell, which contain acid enzymes to break down materials and cellular debris, just as our egg beater is breaking down our individual ingredients.
Once the ingredients are blended, it becomes a mixture, or a new substance. The Golgi apparatus is nearest to the nucleus and receives vesicles from the endoplasmic reticulum containing newly made proteins or lipids. Blended, it becomes a mixture, or a new substance. The Golgi apparatus is nearest to the nucleus and receives vesicles from the endoplasmic reticulum containing newly made proteins or lipids.
The bread batter is the Golgi apparatus because the flour, sugar, baking soda, ground cinnamon, ground nutmeg, baking powder, salt, eggs, pumpkin, walnuts, and oil are now made into a new substance, which at the same time can be considered a fat, and the Golgi apparatus makes new fats.
The blended mixture into the pan, we need to use cooking spray. The cooking spray will act as the microtubules, which will work together to form larger structures that will work on the outside of the cells. Because of this, the structure is working to keep the batter from sticking to the pan.
Prior to baking, we'll need to add the secret ingredient, raisins. These will act as the cytoplasm in the cell because the raisins will be throughout the entire mixture, filling up the bread.
In order to add the raisins, you'll need a spoon to mix them. This will act as the endoplasmic reticulum, whose function in a cell is to move molecules around, while the spoon also moves the ingredients around, stirring the raisins.
Now the moment we've all been waiting for, baking the bread. We will need to put the bread in the oven. Mitochondrion represents the oven, giving off energy to the rest of the cell. The oven gives off heat energy to cook the bread.
And now we wait 45 minutes for our bread to bake at 350 degrees Fahrenheit.
Wow, it's done.
Now all we have to do is wait for it to cool for 5 minutes and then we can put the icing on.
At the moment, the bread is just finished cooling. Presently, we're going to put on the icing.
To finish off our pumpkin bread cell, we are adding the icing or nuclear envelope. The double membrane surrounding the nucleus is the icing surrounding our bread. All that's left now is to eat and enjoy. Yum!
Welcome to Sarah and Lindsay's Cell Cooking Kitchen. Okay, Dad. You can take that back.
How did you say okay, Dad?
You spoke. Now it's time to blend it up. Today, we're going to be using an egg beater. This is similar to the lysosomes in the cell because the lysosomes have an acid. Wait, stop it. Prior to baking, we will add the secret ingredient, raisins. Prior to baking, we'll be adding the secret ingredient, raisins. I'm sorry!
This will act as the endoplasmic reticulum, whose function is to start over.
The moment we've all been waiting for, baking the bread. We will need to put the bread in the oven. Mitochondrion represents the...
No.
Okay, I'll do it.
Oh wait, let me just start over.
All that's left
now.
is because I have to.